What's up, YouTube? It's Johnny Tsunami, and today I'm giving you part of my review on the Norwegian Prima. I just came back about 3 weeks ago from my sailing, and I had the best time I have ever had on any cruise. I cannot say it enough, but this is going to be part one of 2 parts of my review. This is going to be all the things that I liked about the Prima, and then my next part is going to be all the things I didn't like. But guys, sit back and relax because I have so much to talk about and so much to cover because Norwegian. This is hands down my favorite cruise line right now, and I just love talking about them. So the first thing I want to talk about is definitely the online check-in process. So it was very seamless, very easy. I mean, you just put your information in and then you get access to everything on Norwegian's website. So I found it very easy to, add excursions to see, what excursions they offered, what spa packages they offered, to get prices on certain things and so on and so forth. So that part was very easy. Now, in terms of the embarkation process, oh my gosh, y'all. When I tell you this was the quickest embarkation I have ever had. And listen, I understand I have only gone on 7 cruises, but y'all, they did such a great job. The Norwegian staff was very professional. And mind you, we had a completely sold out sailing. So it was a lot of people. But we showed up to the terminal, I want to say around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And we got there. We were literally sitting down in the check-in area for no more than 5 minutes at the most. I'll be so honest with you. I think my friend Courtney may have sat there for maybe 15 minutes at the most. And then before we knew, we were on the ship. So the embarkation process was so seamless. YouTube, we are boarding the Norwegian Prima for our 7-day cruise. My girl Courtney's right behind me, if I can move my big old head. And this was the quickest check-in I've ever had. Good morning, good morning. The Norwegian staff has been really kind and awesome, and I'm ready to get on the ship because I want a cocktail. Shoot, I want a cocktail, and I want to see. Yeah, isn't today National Margarita Day? All right, YouTube. So I am currently at the buffet on the Norwegian Prima. This has been the easiest check-in I've ever had on any cruise ship. I've never been on a cruise ship at like 11 a.m. I've always been waiting in the waiting area, and I apologize because I know it's very loud. It's embarkation day. But there isn't much to really do right now besides eat and drink. There doesn't really seem to be much going on. A lot of the different amenities don't seem to be open. It's also really cold outside, which doesn't really help. So it's not like people are outside on the pool deck. So our rooms still aren't ready, so I'm just sitting in the buffet, just chilling, hanging out. And I was like, hey, let me just work on some content and stuff like that. But so far, I'm loving Norwegian. How do I say this? It's like if you took MSC and made it a little bit more vibrant. That is what the vibe I get from Norwegian. Definitely an older crowd. Definitely way less diverse than MSC or Carnival or Royal Caribbean. But we're going to see what it's like throughout the week. And then in terms of the mustard drill situation, it was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't, it wasn't hard finding my mustard drill or anything like that. But I will say I was having trouble watching the safety video on my TV in my stateroom. So that was a little bit of a bummer. But other than that, the check-in process and the embarkation process was a breeze. I was completely floored by Norwegian. Now, let's talk about Sail Away. Now, the title of this video may be things that I loved about my Norwegian cruise, but I'll be honest with you, Sail Away isn't something I loved. It was just okay. And now, mind you, it was a very cold and rainy day that day when we were sailing away in Galveston. So you do have to keep that in mind. I mean, the cruise line cannot control the weather. But I did appreciate how the Norwegian staff was trying to get people dancing and moving and having a good time. Now, I will say, overall, I already knew from watching so many different videos of the Norwegian Prima before I went on my sailing that I would be okay with the layout of the Prima. And for those of you who don't know, the Prima is considered relatively controversial as a ship because the layout is not only very different from a lot of the other ships in Norwegian's different classes, but it's a lot different for a cruise ship in general. A lot of the spaces are a lot smaller. In my opinion, I think they're made primarily to spread people out amongst the ship. That way they can avoid really big crowds. But this is when I started to notice why it's considered controversial to some people. While people were trying to have a good time in the rain and stuff like that at Sailway, at the party, the pool deck area was relatively small for that part of the ship to be the sailaway party. Honestly, they should have just had the sailaway party in the atrium. It would have been way more enjoyable. I went out there, you know, I did the wobble for about 5 seconds and then I had to go. But I will also say, and I know that this is the video about things I love, but I will say they need to add at least one more bar in the atrium. The atrium on the Prima, I think they have the whiskey bar and then they have another bar on like deck 6, I believe, but they need at least one more because the bars get a little too packed, and not so packed where you're never going to get a drink, but you do have to wait a bit sometimes on busy nights on the ship. And I apologize for the lack of footage, y'all. I was putting a lot into my content for TikTok and I wanted to make content for YouTube, but honestly, y'all, I wasn't expecting Norwegian to offer so much, and I was doing stuff all day long and I just only had time to make content for TikTok. And so I apologize about that, but if you want to see more of my actual cruise, I do have some videos here on YouTube under my YouTube shorts, but if you want to see even more, go over to my TikTok. On the Prima, the staff seemed to take their jobs a little bit more seriously. So they were personable, you could still joke with them and things of that nature, but especially during the beginning, the first few days of the cruise, you can tell they had a job to do. They wanted to provide you with a good level of service, and they were just so kind and welcoming. And the ship itself literally gave me Dr. Odyssey vibes. And if anyone working with Dr. Odyssey, if you watch this, please let me know because I want to be on the show. And I apologize, y'all. My cat is over here trying to be in the video. But can you be quiet? Thank you. But the Prima, especially that atrium, the Penrose atrium is absolutely stunning. I cannot say it enough, y'all. The Prima is beautiful. All the different spaces on the ship are beautiful. They are absolutely so well thought out, so well crafted. And Norwegian, at least on the Prima, right, for being my first experience, definitely seems to be of a higher caliber compared to some of the other more standard cruise lines. You definitely notice it. And I just loved how the decor of each space, at least in my opinion, felt like it matched, with the exception of the whiskey bar. I do feel like the whiskey bar should have been a little bit more secluded and not in such a public place, because the whiskey bar is a little bit more so in the atrium. So with the exception of that, I do think that most of the spaces were stunning, especially I think it's the chandeliers before you go into Hudson's dining room. Oh, they're so gorgeous, y'all. It's like these beautiful golden leaves with these beautiful light fixtures. It's just stunning. Whoever designed that ship, you did a beautiful job. So let's talk about that cabin, y'all. I booked a studio cabin for myself, and I didn't even know this until I got on, you know, the trip itself. My entire group, with the exception of 2 people that are married, everyone booked a solo cabin, and it just increased the experience so much more, y'all. So I was a little nervous going in that the solo cabin would be way too small, and I can understand how for some people it could be a little bit smaller, or excuse me, a little bit on the smaller side, especially if you're taller. But for me personally, I think the cabin was just phenomenal. I love the layout of the bathroom, and I know for some people they don't like the see-through glass of the shower and where the toilet area is, but it's a room just for yourself. So unless you have a guest, it's not that big of a deal. And then on top of that, I feel like you have more than enough space when it comes to shelving space. You have more than enough closet space. You also have storage space under the bed. Then you also have your TV that like swivels out. You have your vanity area that has enough plugs. I did bring an extension cord with me, y'all. I never used it. There was no point because I had the plugs at the vanity, but then there was also another USB plug, what was it, in like this little nook by my bed, by where the TV was, which was perfect. And then when it comes to the bathroom, the water pressure was great. They did have a clothesline. I do feel like this was the biggest shower I have ever had on a cruise ship, definitely. Then I will say, and this is something I experienced on a lot of different cruise ships, the toilet was a little high, and maybe it's because I'm 5'8", y'all, but the toilet was a little high. So sometimes when I would go to, had to go do my business, I'm like feeling like a little kid because I feel like my feet are dangling off the seat. But other than that, I do think that the cabin was phenomenal. But I will say, and this isn't anything too big, the mirror in the solo cabins bathrooms are way too small. Now, the one they give you in the for the vanity area is perfectly normal size. But the one for the bathroom is like a small rectangle, y'all. It's very, very odd. I don't know why they do that. So, and then they give you, what was it? You have such a small rectangular mirror, and then they give you all this extra shelf space, and it's like, it's a room for one person. And I can understand some people may have a lot of medications, but how much makeup and medication, like how much stuff do you have, like products do you have that you can fill up three shelves that are honestly pretty wide and pretty long. So I just think that Norwegian might want to give up some of the shelf space for more mirror. But other than that, I think the solo cabin was perfect. I love the fact that in order to get to the solo cabins, even though I will say during embarkation, we weren't happy about this because we felt like we were idiots and couldn't find our cabins. But I like the fact that you have to go through the solo lounge in order to get to the solo cabins. It just gives you a very exclusive type of feel. And then on top of that, y'all, you have such an awesome experience traveling as a group with the solo cabins because everyone gets to spend the day together, but then you get to go back and have your own space. And then it gives you somewhat of a dorm room kind of feel. And I mean that in a good way. I mean that in a very good way because, for instance, there were so many times where I would walk out of my stateroom in order to go to the lounge or go somewhere else in the ship, and I would walk into one of my friends from my group or run into someone I had met on the ship, and it was just really nice. Or you would go to the lounge and you would run into your friends. So I just feel like it's a very nice communal type of experience, even though it's made for individual passengers. So I really like the fact that it can be a perfect option for an actual solo traveler, but it can also be a perfect option for people on a group trip that just want to have their own space at the end of the day. What is up, YouTube? So I just got to my room. This is one of the studio cabins here on the Norwegian Prima, and this is beautiful. Now, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. It is pretty small, and I was a little worried that this room would be way too small for me, but now that I'm actually in the room, it's perfectly fine. Like, this will work for the week, and if I were to stay on the Prima again, would I consider this room again? Definitely, but I may consider getting a larger room. Y'all know how I do, but this is perfectly fine. Now, we have to talk about one of my favorite things about this entire cruise, and one of the things that made this cruise so worth it, and that is the solo lounge on the Prima. Oh my cat is opening the door, y'all. 1 second. Y'all, the fact that everyone who books a studio cabin on any Norwegian ship gets access to the studio lounge is just amazing. Because here's the thing, y'all, right? Now, I was told that with the Norwegian drink package, the Moored Sea, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in the video, with that package that water bottles weren't included. And I'll talk about that again a little bit later in the video. So I ended up buying, I believe it was a 12-pack of water from Norwegian. So that way, I could have water throughout the week. Only for me to find out that I get access to unlimited water throughout the entire week because I have access to the solo lounge 24/7. And there's only maybe an hour or two where you don't really have access to a certain part of it because they go in and clean and stuff like that, especially the food areas. But other than that, it's truly 24/7. So you have access to, it's a 3-room lounge. You have like a regular room, you have a TV room, then you have a common area that's also a little bit of a dining room. Then you have access to a soda machine. So if you have the drink package, you just scan your card. You can have a Coca-Cola. You also have access to wine on tap. You have beer on tap. You have pre-mixed cocktails on tap. I'm trying to think what else. You have the water. Then you also have one of my favorite things, the espresso machine. Now, I will say, I did notice that the espresso that we got from the Solo Lounge wasn't as thick or as strong as the espresso we got in the main dining room or on other parts of the ship. But listen, I solved that by always doing a double shot. Okay, hey, I'm sorry. That's one of the best things about being a solo cruiser, especially because I didn't buy the Starbucks package. So for those of you who may not know watching this, Norwegian has a separate Starbucks package because essentially Norwegian only has a specialty dining coffee shop that is Starbucks. So in order to go and get like a specialty made coffee, you would have to go to Starbucks, and you can just go individually and pay out of pocket. But you can also buy a drink package. Now, I didn't know if I wanted to buy a drink package just for specialty coffee. So I was like, nah, let me just go on the ship and have a good time. The fact that I got access to unlimited espresso in the Solo Lounge was phenomenal. So I was able to make my own iced lattes, to have my own lattes to go to bed, and everyone thought I was crazy, but yes, y'all, I have ADHD and I love some espresso before bed. So I love the lounge, and then on top of that, the lounge was just so communal. Every time you go into the lounge, everyone has something nice to say. It was so clean, and for those of you who don't know, the lounge where the solo cabins are, right, is on deck 12 on the Prima. But there are also studio cabins on deck 13. Now, in order for people on deck 13 to get to the lounge on deck 12, there's literally a little passageway on deck 13 with steps, and they just walk right down and boom, they're in the lounge. It was perfect. And what was it? One night I remember I ordered room service, y'all, and I wanted to get a Coke, but it would have been an extra charge with room service. So I said, never mind. I still ordered room service, but I just walked over to the lounge and got a Coca-Cola for free because it's included in my drink package. So that lounge, y'all, such an amazing value. Like the fact that we get a private, it just makes you feel so exclusive, y'all. I know it may just seem like a room, especially if you watch videos of it. It may just seem like a nice little room with little water fountains and stuff like that. But I promise y'all, if you go on the Prima or any Norwegian ship that has one of these solo lounges on it, you will truly enjoy it. It is such a bang for your buck. It is phenomenal. But don't buy water like I did because it's just a waste of money. And I was giving out water bottles in the last. Let's talk about room service. Now, I typically don't order room service while on a cruise, but I did indulge, especially because my friend Courtney. So I was like, let me go ahead and order some, especially because one night I truly just wanted some pizza. And while NCL does have the indulged food hall, which I will get, excuse me, not the indulged food hall, they do have that, but they do have the local, which is open 24/7. I could go get food there, and I love the food there, and I'll speak about more of that later. But I really wanted pizza, and they don't have pizza there. So I ordered pizza on room service, and I will say this. One, the young lady who was answering the phone for room service, because I ordered it twice, was so kind. She remembered me. She was just so sweet. And then on top of that, I thought that the service charge for the room service was relatively small. It was $7. I think that was fine, especially for unlimited food. Now, I'm just ordering for myself, so I just ordered the pizza and like some lemonade. That was it. That's all I need. And the lady on the phone is like, oh, you don't want anything else? You don't want cake or brownies or anything like that? And I'm like, no, girl, like I got tummy issues. I'm gonna blow up. But the food came so quickly. They tell you, about 40 to 45 minutes, but it normally came about 15 to 20 minutes. It was really nice, hot, fresh. The delivery guys were so nice, so kind. Gave them a nice tip. And I really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely going to order room service again on Norwegian. Now, let's talk about the entertainment. And this is definitely one of the things that made this cruise phenomenal. Okay, so first things first, everyone told me that Norwegian was the laid back cruise line. Everyone was lying because there was nothing laid back about my Prima cruise. I had a phenomenal time, and you're going to hear me say the words phenomenal and stunning so many times. I don't care because I had a phenomenal time. There were so many different activities. They had the mini golf, they had the darts, they had the water slides. They also have the dry slides. Then on top of that, they did have some live music. They had the comedians, they had two comedians, they were both hilarious, like they actually made me laugh. The Prima Theater is beautiful, and it can hold so many people, and I love the layout. They have like the booths upstairs, and then they have the regular stadium seating, and I loved it, especially the booths upstairs. It just gives you a very professional vibe. It makes you feel like you're in an actual theater about to see an actual production, and that's just what I felt about the entertainment on Norwegian. Because I know that some people had concerns, and I'm saying this as someone who's a newbie to Norwegian. I know a lot of people have some concerns about Norwegian's entertainment because they changed it a lot last year. But for me personally, I feel like Norwegian's entertainment on this ship, on the Prima, was a step above everything I've experienced with MSC, with Carnival, and with Royal. I felt like their singers were real singers and real performers who really wanted to be on the stage that they were on. Now, that's not to say that other performers on other cruise lines don't feel that same way, because I've been on MSC and seen phenomenal performers. I've been on Carnival and seen phenomenal performers. I've seen some awesome performers on Royal, but NCL was just on a different level, especially for a ship that doesn't have like an aqua theater or an ice skating ring or anything like that. They still brought the magic and brought the oomph. It was just great. And one of the things that I love the most is the fact that they have so many different teams or like squads for their entertainment venue. So for instance, they have the dancers for the Prima Theater. And one of my favorite things that I loved about the cruise was that I think it was the first night of the cruise, we went to the disco party. And I didn't know that the disco party was interactive. So they bring you into the Prima Theater, and the Prima Theater, the seats actually retract. So it's just a full-on dance floor, and they bring in these booths. It's like a full-on nightclub. So they bring you into the Prima Theater and they have all these costumes on, the dancers, the workers for NCL, and they're just going at it, doing all these cool dances, and then you're also dancing. And one thing I loved about it is that it was interactive while also having actual professional dances, while not being messy at the same time, if you get what I'm saying. So for instance, we would all be dancing in a crowd, and then they would like separate us so they could do their own dance, and then they would push us all back together so we could all dance together. But it wasn't messy, it was well coordinated. It was just awesome. The costumes were great too. The costumes didn't seem cheap or anything like that. And y'all, it was just besides the fact that it was so interactive, it was so sexy. I was not expecting it to be sexy on Norwegian, not at all. People told me it was a retirement home. They told me it was so laid back. They brought out these dancers and firemen costumes, and they're taking off the firemen costumes literally like it's Magic Mike Part 4. And I'm just sitting there stuck. It was so like queer forward and friendly and just phenomenal. And we were dancing the whole night. I did not expect that from Norwegian. It was just great. And that was just a start to so many amazing parties, because after that we had the 80s party, same thing but better. Then we also had the 90s party, same thing but better. And honestly, some people were saying that the 90s party was better. Some people said that the 80s party was better. I feel like they were equal. I just love the fact that I finally got to go on a cruise and actually dance, because I feel like on so many cruise ships, and this is the thing I feel about a Norwegian compared to Carnival, right? Carnival has great nightlife. They have the club, they have the awesome DJs, right? But it can be very cliquey, whereas on the Prima, everyone was dancing together, and it was very adult friendly, especially the performers. It was very sexy without being like erotic. It was very like appropriate while still being sexy, and I really loved it. And the Bossa Nova show, if you guys have the opportunity to see that, please go ahead and see it. I believe it's called the Bossa Nova Beat or Bossa Nova Show, one of those. And when we went to see it, courtesy of one of the workers, Bradley, I don't remember his last name, but he was phenomenal. He coordinated the LGBT meetups for us. He got us front row seats. And when I tell y'all, they were dancing their butts off. You can tell that they love dancing. They love their performance. They wanted to be on that stage. They wanted to give us a good show. Thank you to, if you're a dancer from the Prima who was part of that production, thank you so much, because the dancers and the singers just killed it, y'all. It was a real show. It was like a real 45 minutes to an hour show. I absolutely loved it. I'm so sorry that I have to talk about entertainment so much, y'all, but there was just so much. I did not expect this from Norwegian. So one of my other favorite venues when it came to entertainment on the Prima was Sid Norman's. Now, this is another venue that is very controversial because people love Sid Norman's and I love it too, but it is relatively small. And when I got on the Prima, I understood people's concerns because they have their own set of performances there. And I went to go see a few of them, and I was pretty much always in the back because I had a lot going on. I was doing this, I was doing that. I was on a birthday trip, so I'm going to dinner, I'm doing this. So I would always come a little bit later, and I was pretty much always in the back. And that's okay because I still love the venue. It's a beautiful venue, and they had an awesome cast there. One of my favorite shows there was their prom show there. It was like a nice, corny 1980s prom. They had a whole theme and characters and costumes. And they had a prom queen, prom king. It was funny. It was great. It was a great time. But I was very, very happy that Norwegian actually decided to take the Fleetwood Mac show, Rumors, out of Sid Norman's and move it into the Prima Theater. And I'm so glad they did, because every single night that they performed Rumors, it was sold out. It was a packed theater. And I'm saying sold out like you have to pay money, but it was a packed theater. And Rumors was phenomenal. And I'm saying this as someone that's an actual Fleetwood Mac fan. I did dress up a little bit, and I went to the bar to get a drink, and someone thought that I was a performer. And I'm like, no, sir, like I'm a passenger, I'm sorry. But Rumors was great. I love the costumes. I love the fact that it wasn't just them performing the songs. They also were telling the story of the album and the relationships between the different band members. It was just a really great time. And one of the things that I just loved about the performers on the Prima is that you could just tell they love what they were doing. Even if there was one person in the crowd or 5 people in the crowd and they were singing or dancing or whatever, they were giving their all. They were smiling, having a good time. I remember I think this might have been the first or the second nights. I was with my new friends, Mark and Rocky. We were walking around the ship, and we made it over to the atrium, and my girl Mandy and Courtney and Ashley were sitting down the atrium. We were on deck, I want to say 7. They were on deck 6, I believe. And we were looking down, and it was them and maybe only a few other people. And there was a singer, and she was singing, right? And there's a few people dancing, and it's just us. And she just sitting there smiling and dancing with her cocktail dress on, her heels, and her she has like her guitarist behind her, and she's just having a good time. And it didn't matter that it wasn't a big crowd. She was just there to perform and have an amazing time and give us a great show. And that's exactly what she did. So I truly appreciate the entertainment. And even though this isn't part of the entertainment, once again, shout out to Bradley from Norwegian on the Prima, because he made this cruise phenomenal. He ended up connecting me with so many great people from the LGBT community. I'm having word vomit. He connected me with so many amazing people from the LGBT community, and I'm so grateful. I ended up having a phenomenal time at the LGBT meetups. We were meeting up every single night, going out to the parties on the ship. We were going to the we were going to not the local. Yes, the local. We were going to the local late at night, after having drinks and dancing and getting food. It was just a great time. Norwegian, the entertainment on the Prima, you got it. Now, I will say maybe a little bit more of an elevated sail away party, but besides that, I had a great time. And I also did appreciate the fact that Norwegian did have multiple different free movies available to watch on the TV, because yes, I am the type of person, when I'm on vacation, I still like to watch TV. Okay, now let's talk about the food. Now, so many people ask me, is the food season? Is the food good? I kind of already knew the food was going to be good from the videos I watch and from the many friends I've had that have already sailed on Norwegian. And Norwegian's food already seems to be a step above from what I've already experienced from other cruise lines. 100% Norwegian is at the top. Their food was excellent. And I'm saying this as someone who has multiple food allergies, typically when I go out to eat in general, whether I'm on a cruise or not, it's normal for me to open up a menu and not be able to order multiple items, if not 80 to 90% of the menu. It's just part of having food allergies. But because Norwegian had such a great variety in the main dining room, as well as in Indulge Food Hall and the local, I was able to have so many different options. And I'm talking about different appetizers, different entrees and desserts. It was just great. Now, they have Indulge Food Hall, which I love. Some people just say it's a regular buffet, but me personally, I think it's a step above a buffet. It's not the same as a regular buffet. So Indulge Food Hall is essentially the type of concept where they have multiple different mini restaurants and they have different seating areas, and you sit down at the seating areas and they have these iPads, and you pretty much touch the iPads. Obviously you touch an iPad, and that's how you place your order, and they bring the food to you. But if you're sitting at a regular table, you can order from any restaurant. But if you're sitting at a table that's directly connected to that restaurant, you can only order from that restaurant, which me personally, I think Norwegian should change that, because Indulge Food Hall can get pretty packed. And as a solo cruiser, it can get hard even for me to get a seat. So I can only imagine if you're with like 4 people or your whole family. So I think they should just make it more convenient and allow you to order from any restaurant. I understand maybe it's to help with traffic flow, but I just feel like it would be a lot more convenient. But I loved Indulge Food Hall. The brisket, and I will say I'm so mad because the first day, embarkation day, we went over to Indulge Food Hall and I had some amazing chicken from the Greek restaurant or the Mediterranean restaurant. And I could not find it for the rest of the cruise, and I missed it so much because it was juicy and flavorful. It was so good. Now, the local was phenomenal. I love the local. That is how you do late night dining on a cruise ship. Having an actual full service restaurant. Just have a limited menu, but still give people hot, fresh food. It was great. I love the hot dog that came out. I forgot the name of it, but it came out on like a brioche bun. And it was a hot dog with like, I had ketchup and bacon bits and sauerkraut. It was so good. The French fries with balsamic was good. Oh my gosh, the local was phenomenal. I wish, listen, y'all, I'll be completely honest with y'all. I didn't have breakfast once on this entire cruise because I was having so much fun that I slept in every single day and just never got to have breakfast, besides the last day when we were leaving the ship and I went to the buffet. And I don't feel like that's an actual review, so I can't give one. So I wish I could have had breakfast at the local because they do offer breakfast, but their lunch menu and their dinner menu and their late night menu is phenomenal. I did have their Cuban plate. That was the best thing I had the entire cruise. The pork was great. The beans themselves were so flavorful. The rice was just okay. It was a little undercooked and the rice just could have been like better quality. But other than that, the beans were really, really good. And the pork itself was phenomenal. It was hands down the best thing I had the entire cruise. I just love the local because it gives you that real pub kind of vibe. We would go out and have fun at the Prima Theater, go out to the nightclub, and then head over to the local and have our late night eats. And then everyone goes back to their cabin and we go to sleep and do it all again the next day. It was perfect. Now, when it came to the main dining room, I love the freestyle dining concept from Norwegian. I wish all cruise lines would have it. Now, I understand why some cruise lines have set dining times, but I wish they could be a little bit more flexible, like NCL, nudge, MSC, because MSC is very strict with their dining times, at least in my experiences with MSC. So I love the fact that we could just show up, even though we did have reservations most of the times. But we could just show up with our party and go ahead and get seated. Now, we had dinner at both the Commodore Room and Hudson's. I will say I enjoyed the Commodore Room way more than Hudson's, even though Hudson's was still nice. But the food in the main dining room was really good. There were a few plates that I ordered that I didn't care for. Like, for instance, one night in Hudson's, I ordered this barbecue chicken plate, and it literally seemed like a regular piece of frozen barbecue chicken that they just threw on the grill and slathered some, Baby Ray's barbecue sauce over and threw a piece of bacon over it and called it an entree. and it just wasn't, no, it just wasn't good. But other than that, the food in the main dining room was excellent, and it did take a while, but we always knew our food would come out excellent. It would come out hot and fresh. It was really, really good. I enjoyed my time in the main dining room. And going back to the point I made early in the video, as someone with multiple food allergies, I was just able to order multiple things, and I loved it. I wish I had more pictures and videos to show y'all, but you can go on my TikTok to see a little bit of the food I ate, because I was eating, y'all. I had a great time. That is the gist of what I loved about the Prima. This was the best cruise I ever had. Now, before I go, y'all, I do want to say the More at Sea program, love it. Now, I do want to stay in a higher category room so I can get more nights at the specialty dining restaurants, but I love the fact that you don't just get $50 off of one excursion, you get $50 off of every excursion that you book with NCL for that cruise. I think that is so phenomenal. So let's say you have a very long port day. You could book one excursion very early in the day and get $50 off, and then book another one later in the day and get $50 off for the same day. So you get, you can get two excursions for like $100 depending on how much they cost. I think that's phenomenal. The Wi-Fi, I can't really comment on that because I did upgrade to the premium Wi-Fi because I am a content creator and I needed it to post. So I can't comment on that. But the drink package was great. I did drink so much Prosecco that I'm surprised I didn't turn into a damn bottle of Prosecco, y'all. I really am. I had so many peach bellinis. I love the fact that they had non-alcoholic options. I had such a great cruise, and I'm just so upset that it took me this long to try Norwegian. I had a great cruise. My friend Andrew had a great birthday cruise. My girl Mandy and Courtney had a great cruise, and everyone else in our party had a great cruise. If anyone from Norwegian is watching this, thank you so much. I love you so, so much. And thank you everyone for watching this. I know it was a bit of a long video, and I'm still trying to get back into making YouTube videos and getting back into editing long form content. So I do apologize. My videos skills are not what they were when I was like 21, but I'm trying to get back to it. But thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it.